It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! That was a little out of tune. I'm fighting off something. I don't know what it is yet. Might be a cold, but it might just be allergies. I've had this kind of, I don't know if you guys can hear it, just sort of a rattle in my lungs. And I have asthma, and I have a very mild form of asthma. So, most of the time it doesn't bother me too much. But whenever I get the slightest bit of anything in my lungs, it's just like, oh God, can't breathe. Um, so you'll hear me possibly be more winded. I've been fighting it since I got back from Ottawa. But so I'm gonna try to keep this sort of short and sweet. First of all, question for you guys, because Feedback Friday has become not just me responding to your feedback, but me asking for your feedback as well. And something came up in response to Mountain Monday that got me thinking. Mountain Monday started as kind of a joke that grew. It came kind of out of a self-defense mechanism. I don't like wallowing in angry or sad too much, so I tend to make jokes out of everything. You may have noticed, but Mountain Monday came out of my obsession with the Far Cry games and the fact that Twitter tends to turn into a dumpster fire on the weekends. But it's turned into something that means quite a bit to some people. It's actually become their coping mechanism as well, and like a meme. And I got this message from somebody today saying they were in the doctor's office and they have this anxiety, and so they were practicing the Mountain Monday breathing. And I'm like, damn, there might be more to this than the joke it started as. So I'm thinking of turning Mountain Monday into more of a proactive mental health segment, more coping mechanisms and techniques and alternative stuff, self-care stuff, as opposed to just responding to topics or sort of meditation points. The question I have for you guys, first of all, is this something that should be a question and answer thing? And if so, how are you guys most comfortable submitting the questions? Because I know some people don't want to obviously air their dirty laundry in public. I've thought about setting up a Google form, something like that, getting a Gmail that it sort of goes to. What do you think? What's the best way to submit stuff to that? That's my question for you guys this week. Let me know. You guys are awesome in comments. And speaking of awesome in comments, before I get to the Tuesday video, the Tata's Tuesday video, Gamer's Guide to Feminism, I want to thank you guys for being calm and rational and cool for the most part about does CD Projekt Red make sexist games video. The precise thing I said was, are CD Projekt Red games all sexist? And of course my answer was no, but I spent an hour going through the nuance of the topic because it's a big topic. But one comment literally almost made me weep tears of joy. This commenter said that, it was hard for them to listen to it. It was hard for them. But everything I was saying was true. And I know some people didn't agree with me, but this person did. And I appreciated so much the acknowledgement that recognizing that great games have certain things that are not great about them. It's hard. It is hard because we play these things for fun and we don't want to think about these things when we're playing. But the fact that they were open-minded just makes me so happy. And sorry, sipping tea, throat getting to me. But here's the thing, guys. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I don't expect that. And I cannot possibly respond to, address, or absorb every disagreement from every individual that comments on my stuff. I respond to some just because it happens to be there. It's somewhat a shot in the dark. I try to respond to some comments just to do it because I believe in an active feedback process. Obviously, you're listening to this segment. But my goal is not to achieve 100% consensus. That's a dumb goal. It's impossible. My goal is not even to change anyone's mind because I think that takes away people's individuality. And there's some things I feel very strongly about, and I don't like it when people try to convert me. I'm not an evangelist. And my hope, my intent in doing this stuff is not to change your minds. It's to make you think. And if you stop and question something and then think, no, I was right the first time, that's just as important as going, yeah, maybe I was wrong. It's that testing process that I think games needs more of. And I think we need more calm, I don't like saying adult discussion, because I have had really great discussions with kids about video games, and they have this awesome perspective. I mean, God, when I was at EGLX last weekend, I stumbled on a tweet from Maxime Bellon. He's a high-ranking muckety at Ubisoft, but he was tweeting about the fact that his kid didn't like the fact that they couldn't customize their animals in Far Cry Primal. And I'm just like, that's just so awesome. Obviously I'm not an advocate of customizing animals in Far Cry Primal, but I thought it was cute that the kid had such an awareness of customization because their dad's a game designer that they would say, hey, I have been denied choice. That's amazing. But that's the thing. Nobody has to be right or wrong in these things. It's just a different perspective. And I think the more perspectives we can get on the table for consideration in a medium about choice, the better, right? Because from a designer's perspective, from a developer's perspective, it's not about getting it right or getting it wrong. It's getting it flexible enough so that there can be multiple rights and multiple wrongs. And so this paradigm that a lot of the debate that's going on in video games right now of if you're right, I must be wrong, and vice versa, that's anathema to the way games work, to the way art works. It's not a mathematical equation. It's not science. Yes, the technology that runs the consoles and runs the computers and makes the games work, that is science. But I liked this, I don't like this, that was fun, that's not fun, this is art, this is junk. These are all subjective things, and that's not a bad thing. Subjectivity is not a bad thing. We shouldn't be afraid of it. And so I would think in a paradigm of choice and in a paradigm of that, triangle of agency between, creator, game character, and player. I like that term, triangle of agency. Business guy, you know who you are. Make a note of that, triangle of agency. Let's discuss this. That was a bit of my homework for the week. But it's important. And that sort of triangle of agency, it means there's no one perspective even within the game. Because you've got the creator, you've got the character, and you've got the player, and all must have some say in what's going on for a game to be a great game. And so I don't know what to do about this, because there are a lot of very logic, black and white thinkers involved in games just because it is technology. And I know I am one. Guys, like INTJ right here. I had a really cool conversation come up. This guy who was an attendee at OIGC came up to me and asked me to elaborate on being an INTJ who's also lawful good. He doesn't see how that fits. and he asked me to elaborate on that, my opinions on Dungeons and Dragons alignments and all that stuff. And I'm going to. I'm thinking about it and trying to make it good instead of just, there's a difference between shooting the shit over drinks and writing something or feeling comfortable enough with a concept that I can come here and talk to you guys about it. And so some stuff has to percolate before I can spit it out in this forum or on the website. Please check out lianakersner.com if you're listening to this. There's new content. Didn't get as much new content up this week as I had hoped, but that's because the Uncharted 4 review process was another one of these 72-hour scrambles. And I finally just decided I am not going to have this game finished when the embargo lifts. I'm not. I will not give the game fair due, and I do not understand. I mean, the game got very good reviews at launch. It was at a 94 when I checked, and that's good. But I wished they had given us more time with it, because the problem with a very short review period is that it really benefits the big companies that can assign someone to that game. They have multiple writers, they have multiple editors. Little old me here, sole owner proprietor kind of thing, I can't do that. So, this was a big week with a new gamer's guide. These are always busy weeks. The off weeks I can do more during the week because I'm in a research phase for the Gamer's Guide to Feminism stuff. The longest part of the Gamer's Guide to Feminism series is sourcing the images. Always, always, always. That is the longest part, the thing that takes the most time and energy concentrated. But with the Witcher thing happening too and wanting to address that, it was a lot. And the Uncharted franchise is too important to me to power through it. And I'm really glad I didn't. I'm basically aiming for the YouTube embargo lifting on the 9th to do a little video for you guys and kind of share my thoughts there. Because I get why they're trying to build the hype. I just wish in this case that YouTubers had been on par with reviewers. Sure, it gives us more time, but the problem with game reviews is if you're not right on the embargo when everybody's out there, then you tend to get a significant loss of traffic. And what I've heard from other YouTubers is May is a down month to begin with. There are certain months where people just aren't watching YouTube as much, and May is one of those, partially because when I find YouTube is really affected by the university cycle. But also May, at least here, it's like, the weather's nice. It's not freezing outside anymore. I want to go outside. I know I've been feeling it as much as anybody. I've been using my wireless television a lot. I was outside washing windows and watching, what was it? Criminal Minds Beyond Borders. I think I was watching. In other words, what international religious cult are we going to encounter this week? But I digress. Gamer's Guide. I was pleasantly surprised by the feedback. Again, the views on the last couple videos have been lower because it's May. And also because I admit I haven't been shilling that stuff a lot because my focus has been divided. I don't want to be just the analytical feminist. There are a lot of things I have interest and expertise in. I don't want to get bogged down into constantly talking about whether something is sexist, constantly talking about whether something is misogynist. You can't live that way. You've got to be able to celebrate things and be happy. And I mean, I'm fascinated by gender, absolutely. But I also like fart jokes, and I like to do things that are just somewhat brainless sometimes. And not everything has to be a pillar of feminism for me to enjoy it. That's just not the role some things have in society, and that doesn't make them invalid. Speaking of which, your comments on why, I said this earlier in the week, but your comments on why people go so crazy when a game is accused of sexism or a developer is accused of sexism. Guys, I just want to thank you for being so open. Some people took some major emotional risks. I'm not even sure they knew they were doing it because that's such a trigger thing. But the honesty in the comments that I read, I'm so pleased and so honored that people would share that in a public forum because they have enough trust in the community of this channel to do that. That's very gratifying. That's very validating, and thank you for that. The reasons were, wow, I learned a lot from your comments. I really did. The reasons were more diverse than even I thought. Some of them were things I'd already considered. The idea that, an accusation of sexism is an accusation of ill intent. And the reality is, from a clinical academic perspective, it's not. It's not an indication of ill intent because in academia, a lot of professors practice death of the author, meaning it doesn't matter what an author intends. I have never, somebody asked me if I believe in death of the author. I don't. I think that I'm more of the author is sleeping type of person. I don't think that author intent is irrelevant. I don't think developer intent is irrelevant. From the perspective of analysis and from the perspective of, I hate the word criticism, feedback, whether like an analyst like me, a consultant like me, it's important for me to see what the developer intended versus what they got. Or what they ended up with, because my job is to tell them how to more accurately convey their intended vision, right? So I am not a death of the author type person. That being said, I do understand that in art, again, art is subjective, and art means different things to different people. And that's why I say I'm the author is sleeping type. Because do I believe author intent matters? Yes. Do I believe that invalidates what a song or a movie or a music video or a work of art or something means to an individual? No. And there are some artists, I mean, Prince was one of them, Tori Amos is another, who don't talk about what their songs are about. They don't talk about the inspiration for their songs because they mean what they mean to the people who listen. And that's sort of a one-to-one paradigm in mass media that it's important, any text, I've said this all the time, there's text, there's context, and the context, again, I've got this little, triangle thing. You've got the context the author was writing in, the context in which a particular scene happens in a work, but then you've got the context that the audience is consuming in, and all those are relevant to what the interpretation ends up being. And this is when I start going, grrr, when I get these comments, and I got a few this week, where people were very angry at me for reasons I didn't understand because I write about Chazarai. Chazarai is a Yiddish word for, there's really no translation for it that accurately says what that word is, but people who know what it means are chuckling. But basically the argument is if they didn't get it, I did it wrong. And no, not everything I write is intended to be for a specific audience, especially on the website, lianakurzner.com. I'm still trying to figure out what I want that to be. And so I'm experimenting with a bunch of different stuff, see how it feels, see how long it takes to do it, What can I do regularly? And maybe it is going to end up just being a mishmash of stuff. Maybe. I mean, this is the challenge for me from a business and creative perspective. I have so many interests. There's so many things I have something to offer. I think I have something to offer with that refining what I'm going to do at any given time is difficult. So that's a lot of feedback. I wanted to do 7 minutes. I did 20. So typical of me. But have a good weekend, guys. See you on Monday.